Hi, this is Tashina.
And this is Jonathan.
And this is Abandoned Ship, a podcast where we are going on a 4-year mission through Deep Space Nine.
Today we are talking about episode 9, The Passenger.
Again, I am seeing a pattern where if Bashir is in the cold opening will be a banger. Even if the rest of the episode sucks, at least we have these cold openings with Bashir. Because we pretty much come in mid-conversation. It is Bashir and Kira on a runabout. And I guess they were helping somebody. Who knows?
Sure, I guess, for some reason.
There was some situation where it looked like a lady was dead. And the tricorder even said that this lady was dead. That Bashir says, "Oh, that sometimes happens." And I'm like, wait, really? Sometimes the tricorder can be like, "Oh, they're dead, but they're not really," which made me very concerned.
I guess you got to maintain your technology can't be so good that it removes all tension from the scene. There has to be some doubt, I guess.
Yeah, so it just seemed not a little detail. Like that's a pretty major thing, but okay. I guess this lady had some kind of parasitic thing where it looked like she was dead but wasn't, and I don't know. It just gives Bashir an excuse to wax poetically on how he's the best. He's the best boy doctor who ever lived.
I just seem to have a talent, I suppose. A vision that sees past the obvious, around the mundane, right to the target. Fate has granted me a gift, Major. A gift to be a healer.
I just wrote down, Kira is us. Because the look on her face is like, oh, okay.
And so she says sarcastically, "I feel privileged to be in your presence." And he doesn't.
Oh, the driest.
Like, oh, yeah, glad to have you along.
The driest way she says that is great. And then they get a distress signal, which good for Bashir, because I'm pretty sure Kira was about to rip him a new one before this distress signal came in. So I'm like, he's lucky.
Yeah, so we get a distress call from a Kobliad.
Oh boy. Not
Transport.
even gonna try with that name.
They're in trouble, so they're gonna go help them out.
So yeah, they beam on the ship, and there's a fire on the ship, and they also said there's only I think 10 minutes worth of oxygen left.
Yes.
So
which they're shouting very loudly, louder than I feel like the ambient noise is actually present in the scene. Like they were told, this is going to be very loud, so shout, but it wasn't actually that loud.
Exposition heavy episode. I wrote so many notes this episode because they're just giving so much information, and it starts in this cold opening. My notes on just the cold opening alone, I'm like, I didn't even get everything because I'm just like, because Kira goes off, I guess, to find something to put out the fire, and Bashir sees someone laying on the ground, goes to the lady, revives her. Through all the back and forth, pretty much we get that this is a prison transport.
Uh-huh.
She has a prisoner on board. She is security cop, whatever, busted him. The prisoner is the one who set the fire, and the only other person on board is the pilot who has died.
Yep.
Now, Bashir gets a little tricorder out and sees that there's another person behind a door, and the security lady's like, "No, don't open." And keeps repeating that for a solid minute. But Bashir's like, "It's a person. I can't leave someone behind." And opens the door, and we see our prisoner. And they don't really give names here, but his name is
Vantika.
Vantika. We'll just go with Van. So Bashir goes over. It looks like Van is out or near death, pretty much. And Bashir's like, "We gotta take him back. We have to, in order to save him." And all of a sudden, Van just pops up, grabs Bashir in a chokehold, and says, "Make me live." And dies.
Very Shakespearean death.
Yep. And then kind of a sassy, I don't know, it felt sassy to me. Bashir says to the security guard, "He can't hurt anybody now."
No, that was earlier where she's saying he's dangerous. He's like, I assure you, in this condition, he's of no threat.
Oh, in this state, he's no threat to anyone.
And then after he dies, that's when he delivers the joke to Kira, saying, "This one I can't bring back."
And then she passes out again. So after our credits, we're in the infirmary. We find out our security lady is Ty Kajada. Ty. And Bashir brings her to. And pretty much this whole interaction is she is not convinced that Van is dead. Like, you don't understand. We need to do all the tests. Any tests you can think of, do it.
Dental record, fingerprints, retinal scan, DNA,
she did retinal
colon
scans,
test. Maybe not that one.
Because she has been going after this dude for 20 years, and he's faked his death before. And the last time somebody did, they ended up dead. And then Bashir's like, oh, he's a murderer? And I'm like, Bashir, I don't think they're doing all this shit for
tax evasion.
For petty theft. Like, he did something serious.
Jaywalking.
He just seems like, oh, what? Here, Ty mentions that Van took multiple lives to extend his own. So this dude is all about self-preservation. He wants to live forever. He is that dude that is injecting his son's blood into him to try to live for 200 years.
Yep.
This is him. And he will do anything to make that happen. She's like, are you sure he's dead? I've been going after him for 20 years. And she just pulls out a knife and stabs the body. And Bashir just looks very like, taken back. She's like, okay, this lady might be a little off. Because he keeps like, I don't know, he just is very dismissive. Like, are you sure we need to do all these tests?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else before we move to Quarks?
I guess the only thought I have is, if she's so determined to kill him all the way to the end, why was he a prisoner in the first place?
Dude.
She kind of seems like the person who would just have shot him on sight.
Yeah.
And vaporized the body.
I mean, as we see at the end, yeah, I wouldn't put that past her. Dude, incinerate him, push him in a fire, do something. Why are you transporting him? You were literally giving him the opportunity to escape again.
Yep.
And maybe that is not very PC of me, but you know what? Just go. But he's been doing this for 20 years. Maybe she doesn't know what to do.
How can she live with herself?
All right, so we head to Quarks, and we have another great Odo and Quark scene, where Quark is pretty much making eyes at Jetsia, and Odo's just like rolling his eyes, and I love the line Quark says, "Nothing wrong with a good delusion," and pretty much talking about like loneliness, and because Quark's like, you just want everybody to be like you, Odo, Mr. Loner. And they also talk about wanting company, like wanting things, which to a degree I was with Quark, but he always takes it one step into the creepy.
Flesh.
Yeah. Because he's like, oh, it's good to want things. And I'm like, yeah, I can agree with that. But he's like, especially things you can't have. And I'm like, no, you know what? No. Because especially with women, and like, because he's talking about the context of Jetsia, right. I'm just like, maybe not.
It is an interesting, like, we get more like insights into Ferengi culture, like how Quark thinks as a person, explaining his point of view, not just as, a mustache twirling, villain like the Ferengi were originally set up as. Like, you're starting to do some world building here, and especially next to Odo, who wants nothing. You have Quark, who wants everything, and so it's a good juxtaposition.
I think Odo pretends he wants nothing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Quark sees through that, and that's why he tried to, like, prods him a bit. I think he knows it's a front. Like, there is things that Odo wants, but he keeps it so close to the chest, under, like, layers and layers.
Yeah, and we'll reveal some of those. I mean, there's one big one, obviously, with Odo. Actually, with that one particular one with Odo, wanting to know his people, know where he came from, that in particular, talk about something you can't have, wanting something you can't have. For Odo, the only thing he wants is the only thing he wants is the thing he can't have.
Yes.
So for Quark to be saying that's a good thing when it's causing Odo so much pain, you can see how he sort of just shuts that off.
Yes. Odo would not agree with that. In this discussion, Odo drops the Diridium shipment is coming in, and it's just one of those Star Trek words, like, ooh, Diridium. Like, it's a big deal. The shipment is coming in. Odo's like, you sure this is not on your want list, this Diridium shipment? And Quark's like, Diridium? What Diridium?
Diridium? Barely know him.
So Quark moves away, and a Starfleet officer, comes up and pretty much accosts Odo right away. Like, interesting tactics, letting him know about the Diridium. I mean, if I could overhear you, Hafs's bar could. And here we meet Lieutenant Prenham.
Mr. Howdy Doody himself.
Who is our new security liaison with, I'm blanking, Starfleet. What, blank there. And it's apparent that the lieutenant does not like Odo's tactics. And he keeps asking him about information and what he's doing, and Odo's just like, oh God, please go away. And then they talk about the Diridium shipment, and I guess that's why he's there, is to have more security in place for this shipment, because it's a big deal to Starfleet. And I was like, it's all handled. And Lieutenant's like, well, I still want to go over the details. And Odo's like, fine, come to my office later.
Book an appointment.
But yeah, book an appointment. Bye. Annoyed. And here we go to Ops. And Bashir is pretty much just getting the team up to speed on what's happening with Ty and Van and all that hubbub. And so at this point, Bashir does not believe that is it
Vantika. You got to say it like Bashir. Vantika.
Doesn't think Vantika is faking his own death. I don't see how. Doesn't seem possible, but he's still running the tests. But what's interesting is that I guess when they caught Van, he was on his way to DS9.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting that his body ended up here anyways. And they think he was coming for the Diridium shipment. I didn't get all the details, but I know their species apparently needs Diridium.
Both of these plots are linked because he is a Kobliad.
Mm-hmm.
The Diridium is for the Kobliad because their race needs it to survive, but it's in scarce supply and their population's too big.
Yes.
So they have a shipment coming from the Gamma Quadrant, but it's still not enough for everyone. So there's a lot of crime, black market activity involved with this Diridium because people are, which also is why Vantika himself has been so obsessed with extending his life, right? Because his species as a whole is facing death.
Yes.
All the time. So he's been obsessed with living as long as possible. So he wants to get his hands on this Diridium shipment, which is what he was coming here for. But now he's dead, right? So there's no
problems at all. He might be out of the picture. Sisko's like, but he still is people. Whoever he hired to steal the shipment, they might be around. So we need to figure this out. And he's going to update security about it. And that's when, no, not Odo. Lieutenant Prem arrives at this time. And they go to Sisko's office to update him. And he's asking him what he thinks about Odo. I don't know, this little shit. He just belittles Odo. And I wrote, don't you come for Odo.
I'm sure he's very good at keeping order down there on the promenade in his little playground.
And Sisko's having none of it. He goes, first off, we are guests here. So you need to work with Odo. He knows a lot. He is valuable. And he probably did that, tell Quark. That was for a reason. He's like, because gossip, the rumor mill is strong here.
Right.
And everybody probably knows about the Diridium shipment. So he was just wink, wink to Quark, hey, I'm keeping an eye on you. So you better not try something. And just because Odo's tactics are different from what Starfleet teaches doesn't mean they're not useful, which is kind of what Tim Prim's like, they didn't teach us this in Starfleet. Yeah. It just goes like, I'm not telling you to throw the book out on what you've been taught. I'm just saying you can learn from Odo.
Time to write a few more pages.
Yes, and don't shove that book in his face.
Yep. There's one point where, because he makes the point that, right, the Starfleet there focuses on starships, which are very tight operations, and also even they do have star bases, but again, those are completely Federation controlled. It's a different environment than being a guest at someone else's trade port, basically.
Yes.
Like, this is not really it's a little city, right? So it's a little different.
This is not our party. Okay? So chill.
And so Prim's like, well, if you want my opinion, and Sisko's like, I don't.
No, thank you.
I'm just here to tell you what it is.
And I guess Prim really felt checked because he goes to his meeting with Odo and he tries to apologize, and Odo's just, whatever, dude, I don't care. But he does want information about the Deridium shipment, what they're planning on doing for security. And Odo's like, sure, you can go into the computer and see whatever you want. I don't care. And he goes, doo, 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 and it's all gone. It's been purged. And he's like, where's all our information? Where's all of it? And out of the shadows, Ty comes out.
Someone summon me.
Ty comes out and goes, it was Vandika. I'm like, she was literally waiting around for someone to say something has gone wrong. I think
Magic words.
She was waiting outside security doors.
For hours waiting.
Hours. It just pops up. I know who it was. Like, whoa, chill. So now everybody is in ops, trying to figure out how this happened. How did the whole system get purged? And Ty's like, I know it's Van, you fools. I told you. And I think it was someone's like, why would he wipe the whole system? And it's actually a pretty clever plan, like, because the security system's in place, you can't access single files. But nobody thought, I'll just get rid of everything.
Yeah, it's the digital equivalent to, instead of cracking the safe, you just rip it out of the wall and take it with you and crack it later.
Yep. So much technobabble, but pretty much he did it by using secondary systems.
Yeah, he went and attached this little hacky device.
I call it a bomb, little techno bomb.
He attached this little hacky device to some system that nobody would be checking and managed to worm its way through into, basically scooping up every single thing in active memory, blah, 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 technobabble stuff. And so now he has the data. He knows their security plans.
Yep. But Sisko is still skeptical, the skeptical's on, that Van is alive. And then Ty, she goes on this whole laundry list of what a baddie this dude is. Like, all of his crimes. She had the speech ready. And she goes, believe me, when he started that fire, he had a plan to survive. Don't know how yet, but he always has a plan. Odo wants to talk to Sisko. Now Sisko takes Odo to his office. He's having a lot of issues with his security people today. Because Odo comes in hot. He's like, I'm going to resign. And Sisko's like, oh my God, dude.
Gotta deal with all these children on this station.
And he's like, Odo.
Kids, play nice.
Odo, I need you. We need you here. Ain't no one can do what you do on the station. And I was like, damn right. And so they clear things up. He goes, when it comes to, because Odo's like freaked out about the chain of command. And Sisko's like, if it is a joint venture, you are in charge. And Odo's like, I can live with that. Goes on his merry way. So we go, I don't know if we go to Dax's office or somewhere else. I don't know. Dax is somewhere. And she did a sweep of the ship that Ty and Van were on. and found out someone tried to break in to the ship's cargo bay. Cisco's like, what were they trying to find? And she goes, this. And she breaks out a little chip and apparently has a map of the humanoid brain on this chip. So we're starting to get a little clues here on what.
Lucky for him, all the humanoid brains work the same, I guess.
I guess so. I don't know. So we go to Quark's. He's doing a little cleanup, berating his employees. I found 3 coins on the floor.
Another great Ferengi moment.
And then a shadowy figure pops out of nowhere.
It's the Phantom of the Opera.
It did. It gave me so much Phantom vibes. And he kind of puts Quark in a chokehold, and he has like black gloves. And I know they were trying to disguise his voice, but it is
so obviously
clear
Bashir.
that it is Bashir.
And I think when he pushes Quark away later, you see a literal full frame of the side of Bashir's face. It's like, okay, it's Bashir. But he is hamming it up.
That is a man voice.
I am Vantika.
Yeah, we get a little taste.
Yeah, Bashir, is that you? No, it is me, Vantika.
And Quark's like, you're supposed to be dead, dude. What do you mean?
I'm not dead. I'm Vantika. Yes. He's really, I think it probably would have been a little better just to use some sort of voice changer on him.
Yes, because
because here's the thing. Once you are now talking like this to one person, you have to do it to everyone, which is what we see later. Now you've boxed him into a corner.
A man's voice.
That's the bigger thing. Yeah. Even if maybe you don't clock Bashir, it's clearly a dude, which makes the misdirect they try and do right after the scene not really work.
Exactly. I'm like,
in fact, narrows it down to exactly only one person it could possibly be.
Because it's either Ty or Bashir. It's either those two.
Or Kira, I guess. And he's someone who went, because remember, you didn't see her for a bit. Like, they could have used that too. Like, it should have been, their suspicion should have been on all 3 of them. It's like, oh, it's one of these people.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a scene. So we're back in the infirmary. Bashir updates Ty about the DNA scan. And he's like, I was trying to call for you. Where were you? And I guess she was doing something to try to.
Oh, I can't sleep. So this is supposed to be the misdirect,
yes,
right? Like,
this is the start.
She was unaccounted for.
Exactly.
It's her, but it's like, it's
not. It's clearly not. Yeah, I said this is the start of trying to put her as the scapegoat. While they're talking about how these scans all came back and the body's definitely Van, no doubt. Bashir gets called by Dax to come over to her office. There's just a lot of offices this episode. Office to office to office.
It's the laboratory.
Sure. Dax. Oh, I guess from the information she gathered from the chip, tells Bashir that there was probably a swap of minds, of consciousness.
Yeah, basically they put together that he transferred his consciousness to someone else. So, yes, the body is definitely his and is definitely dead, but his consciousness might be living on somewhere else.
But the basis of this is from a bad 90s fact.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of room because we only use 10% of our brains.
Like,
that's a 90s fact.
By the way, that is false. We use pretty much all of our brains.
Well, nowadays, I think that's coming back into reality, but...
That's for different reasons. Anyway, because of this mind swap, they now think Ty is the likely culprit. I'm just like, really, Bashir?
Which...
he literally clung on to you. I was like,
and that's the thing. It's not just that they guessed the theory that, he's probably transferred his consciousness. They see it like in his fingers or fingernails. Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah, he did it by grabbing someone.
They do figure that out a little bit later. But even at this point.
I think at this point they...
No, she tells Cisco that. Oh, in the next scene.
Oh, okay.
So Cisco at this point comes in and Dax and Bashir update him. And he's in disbelief. They're like, how does this happen? It doesn't even seem like Ty is anti-Van. Right. They're like, Van would pretty much be like a stowaway in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they don't even go into the finger nerves. That's another page.
That's way later.
That's way later. But still,
your suspicion should be on everyone.
Everybody who
was
is
on the ship.
That ship.
Especially since Vantika was sealed in the room when they arrived.
Yes. Yeah, it should be.
I guess he could have taken her over and thrown his body back in. But no, he was alive when they talked to him at his moment of death. I don't know.
But because the thing is, they tell Cisco here, until they can find out how he did it, they can't scan or figure out, like, they can't.
They need
look
to find
for it.
evidence of the transfer to prove it.
But until then, all three should be.
Just put them all in a holding cell.
Exactly. Or follow them or do something, not just Ty. It should have been all three of them.
Yes.
So
maybe if they had Bashir more actively sabotage that line of thinking, make up some medical reason. Oh no, it can't be a human. Then it would have been more believable. The fact that no one even suggests it is I think the part that's off. But it might have been nice if someone maybe brings up, well, it could have been you or Kira, and then he could, as Vantika, start. Oh no, that's impossible because we're different, incompatible physiology. But that's actually like Vantika saying that,
because that's kind of why they jump to Ty, because they're the same species. But the plans that we saw is humanoid brains.
Yeah.
So by that, any humanoid brain,
just lock her up. And once you see that Vantika's still around doing stuff, then you know it's not her by process of elimination.
I know. Like, I feel like we could have taken some different avenues.
All this becomes much more frustrating later for reasons we'll talk about when we get there.
Yep. So, because they think it's Ty, Odo's like, we can kind of have the computer keep track of her movements, because security is so much on the the Deridium and trying to handle that. They don't really have the resources to just track her down manually by person. So the computer's gonna track her, and also she can't get into security. I think it was Cisco. So I was like, oh, she ain't gonna like that. And I was like, when she figures it out, she'll come see me. Cut to Odo's office, and Ty is like, why can't I get into these files? Why?
I think my password expired. Can you help me with that?
And Odo's very vague about the reasons why, but they're like, we just feel like with everything going on, we just put the security down to 4 people need to know. And she's like, this is dumb. I know so much about Van. My whole life is for this purpose, and you're not using my skills. She's just very pissy. And then she goes, well, is anybody keeping track of Quark? This Quark? I heard that he's the black market person around here. He's the no. Has anybody keeping an eye on him? And I was like, I'm always keeping an eye on him. What are you talking about?
But clearly not enough.
But not enough. So she wasn't wrong.
Because now we go to Quark's bar. It's past closing, and he's having a little clandestine meeting with some very comical space pirates.
Yeah, they're mercenaries, but they're clearly space pirates.
Literally bandanas.
What has a bandana?
Literal space pirate. It's like, oh boy.
And
a little on the nose there.
They're going over the plans, and while that's happening, we see Ty looking around the corner. She's keeping an eye, seeing what's happening, and she's up in the kind of the balcony area. Quark and the space pirates are getting into it, fighting back and forth, and all of a sudden we hear a scream.
And we turn around, and Kajada's just dangling from the railing. We never see her get accosted by any other person. She's just dangling from the railing, and then she falls off. So it's supposed to further is she...
It's a couple stories. It's a pretty big fall.
This is supposed to further okay, was she actually attacked, or was she fight clubbing herself, to throw attention off her?
That would be great.
Which, again, could maybe work if we hadn't already known for sure that it's Bashir.
It's Bashir.
The other thing with this meeting with Quark, and this is sort of a big issue with some of these early episodes, and this one is a good example, is they're not really sure the extent of Quark's deviousness yet.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really know where to put him. They know he's supposed to be, black market, he does shady stuff. I think he kind of crosses a line here
pretty big one.
And so for one thing, just his dialogue with the mercenaries, like he's very like, you'd be riding in a Cardassian jail if I had, like, very like bad guy, like mustache twirling, right?
Yes.
Ruthless. But that's not Quark. Quark isn't that. Quark's just.
He's
They even
haggling.
say,
He's
even in
wheeling
these
and
early
dealing.
episodes, say that he's your host. You know.
Yes.
And yes, he has some moral gray areas. So you will do things outside the law for his own profit, and he will connect people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's trying how they get around to this episode that, I'm
He's
just
the
making
middleman.
introductions.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, just sort of cutting to the chase here. People die in this episode.
And he does like the Homer Simpson, like, go back into the bushes. Like,
And they say they're watching Quark, but they clearly didn't. So those deaths are on their hands that they could not figure this out ahead of time. And on Quark's too. And I think
not a good look.
Definitely later in the show, they move away from Quark doing this overt kind of thing. It makes more sense for Quark to not be messing around with DS9 directly. This is where he does his operations, and he should be this is where, he can have contacts outside the station, but he should not be causing death and destruction in their own backyard, because then that just makes everyone look incompetent, negligent, like...
Yeah, not a good look.
But they're also, at this point, they're trying to be the dark Star Trek, so they're like, we're going to have, this happened, people are going to die, but they didn't really quite think it through. Like, Quark should have been arrested at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And then Odo probably should have been fired.
Yeah. He works best.
So yeah, it's just like you gotta make it what you want. You want it to be riding that line, but never crossing it.
Yes.
And this one crosses the line.
Because you're right, he works best. Like, it wasn't a great episode, Q-less, but I think that's kind of where he's best utilized when he was doing the auction and bringing the people there. Because you're right, it's not like directly putting anybody in harm and not really in Starfleet business. It's very like on the side.
He should be there to thumb his nose at obviously obtuse and over-restrictive Starfleet regulations, like selling illegal bootleg DVDs, that kind of thing. Not weapons of mass destruction. Not things that make him look like very obviously the bad guy.
Yeah, you're right.
This one's a little too black and white.
I
so that's just, I wanted to comment that because that's how he talks to like these mercenaries. And
we'll have to see how the rest of season 1 goes, but I wonder how, like, when they start like pulling back a little bit, because you're right, this is kind of a little too far. It's like, okay, now we gotta pull back
a little bit. So not everyone looks like
because, and then at the infirmary, Ty is conscious but in really bad shape, and she says, Vandika, push. And then Bashir's like, it's probably best if we knock her out because, any movement could cause more damage. Psh. She's out. Sisko and Odo half-heartedly grill Quark about what happened, and Quark's like, I don't know, I was there, and all of a sudden I hear her scream, and she fell, and bye. I feel like they didn't try hard enough to get information from him, but whatever. And then Sisko asks Bashir, he's like, could this been a suicide attempt? I'm like, wait, what?
Very strange.
Yeah, I think Fight Club is probably more likely than suicide attempt. But did you meet this lady?
Yep.
And also, she said pushed. I'm like, did we not hear her? So we go to the stasis room. Now this is where the file's under the fingernails, because Dax is like, I'm trying to figure out how he did this, and she's looking at the body and she's getting stuff underneath his nails, and she thinks this is how Van transferred pretty much a bio message. Like, he stored his consciousness on this little thing and went to another person when he like dug their fingernail into them. And now that they know how he did it, they should be able to check to see if Ty is the carrier.
Which, at this point, now they should immediately suspect Bashir.
Yeah.
But they don't.
But why not test all three of them? I'm a person, due diligence. If there is a chance that Bashir Kira could have been the target, and treat him as such. Like, yes, even if you think Ty was the most likely person, why are Bashir and Kira able to run around? Kira's on security. She's all the 4 people on the security deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just...
I think that they very clearly tried to immediately direct us to her right off the bat and try and hope you wouldn't notice that everyone should have been suspected, which those are red flag, because usually they are good at putting all those options out there about who they should or should not be able to trust and who might be affected.
Also,
So they just try and
another
speed
guy
past it
with
a little
Bashir. Why was Kira with him? Why couldn't it have been at least another man? So at least some
Yeah.
mystery. It's just like, I feel like this is supposed to be a mystery, and I'm like, but I know who it is before the mystery even started.
No.
So we're in a random hallway now. In the docking ring.
Kira does some very close talking to a couple of engineers who are working on the dock.
So much close talking.
Getting very up close and personal.
Are they trying to find any more of those little tech bomb things? Is that... they're doing something by going and looking at the
they're just spouting nonsense.
They're doing some checks. Odo catches up with her, and he's like, "Where's the Lieutenant Prim? I sent him to you." And Kira's like, I haven't seen that dude.
Is this supposed to be a last-minute misdirect that, oh, it's Prim? I don't know, yeah.
It's so weird. Or that, I guess they're maybe trying to show, maybe he could have been part of the team that was getting the Duridium, since he was the security for the Duridium. It's short-lived. But anyway, Odo's like, oh, huff, puff, gotta go after him now. And now we are going to a hallway that leads to the runabout. Quark is with our space pirates, and they're gonna go meet Bandika. And they open the door to the runabout, and
it's Bashir.
Dog. Guess what, guys? Guess what? It's Bashir. How could you guess? It's Bashir.
This is another thing that also I think goes too far. Now Quark sees Bashir, someone he knows. Like this has gotten too big. I feel like at this point, even Quark should be like, "Oh shit."
But the look on his face is like, sorry, Doctor, I didn't know you were using this. We thought it was free buy." Like he was...
Not at all, gentlemen. I've been
oh my goodness.
You.
This voice, how he does Van. It's such a choice.
Yes.
Like a choice. Because all we get of the actual Vandika is that one little line where he made me live. Yeah. So, deep voice, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like the actor, Bashir had a lot of leeway with how to do Van. and this is what we went with? Okay. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I said, oh, we're getting our taste of the voice. After our commercial break, we're back to the infirmary for a hot second.
Dax is looking to Julian. Sees he's left his combat behind. Again, this should have been a huge red flag. Bashir left.
Why didn't she immediately?
And she just goes on. Anyone seen Bashir? I can't find him anywhere. It's like
how long was she looking before she went to ops?
Gross negligence.
Yeah,
you're all fired.
That's why with this episode, I feel like this was a interesting plot and story. But you're right, the negligence on all kinds of different levels is what made this a frustrating episode.
Yeah, it was not written smartly enough to have him actually fool anybody. They just had to make everyone kind of stupid.
Yeah. So you're right. She goes off to... Again, we know how big of a deal it is. Like what we saw with Miles when he took off his comm badge.
Oh, yeah. Anytime a Starfleet officer takes off their comm badge, shit's about to go down.
I know. I'd be like,
it's
Cisco,
never, ever a good thing.
Everybody.
I'm pretty sure they wear them to sleep.
Exactly. The fact she's like, I guess I'll just go look for him. Doop, 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 doop. I said another random hallway. My notes. Odo finds Prim.
Basically, this is, I guess, a little redemption moment for Prim, because he's like, oh no, I started thinking like you do, and which made me think, I started thinking like you, which made me think like Vantica, which made me think to go check these other unrelated systems. So he's basically been checking like minor unrelated systems for sabotage, and he finds one of those little hacky devices
In the waste.
in the poop machine, I guess.
Yeah, because he's like, I guess Kira was focused on the docking ring because that makes sense with the security of the docking ring. He's like, but that's not where he would hit us. Good thing he found it, because this would have gone really bad. Oh, and Odo says that, yeah, it probably would have shut them down for about an hour. We get a shot of the wormhole. Ship comes through, and it's called the Maricopa. I think it's what the ship's called.
The Norcova.
Huh?
The Norcova.
Norcova?
Mm-hmm.
And I had that wrong. This is a ship with the Duridium coming from the Gamma Quadrant. Go to Ops. Odo tells Cisco about them finding the little tech bomb. Great. And then they see a little runabout heading to the ship. And nobody okayed that. And that's when Dax comes and goes, hey guys.
Anybody seen Bashir?
Where's Bashir? And Cisco's like, oh shit. I guess he's able to look up like who authorized the runabout. Guess what? It's Bashir. He authorized the runabout. So we go to the ship now. Norcova.
Oh,
jeez.
So yeah, so they beam up.
Pirates
kill everybody.
Yeah, they kill everybody on the
His blood is on your
deck.
hands, Starfleet and Odo and Quark.
Comes over after they've killed everybody and takes control. But then there's a tractor beam that's hooked onto the ship from DS9. And he's like, that's not possible.
he like tilts his head. He just looks so fucking goofy.
It doesn't help that it is Bashir.
Yeah.
Trying to be badass. So they're fighting against the tractor beam so they're not pulled in.
Cisco hails them. They have some back and forth. Bashir's doing his thing.
He reveals his identity. I'm like, guys, why is this a surprise? Because he goes, I'm not Bashir. I'm fine to God. And Dax and Kieran, all I'm like, oh. And I'm like, what?
Duh.
Keep up, people. Keep up. He says, Bashir's body is fine. The mind is asleep. And he said he's willing to give back the body if they let the ship go. If not, Vandika's gonna just tear the whole ship apart. Everybody's gonna die. So he's like, give you 1 minute. Boop. Going up, so they discuss like different
classic
things.
bad guy mistake. You never give them a minute to make up their mind.
I know.
You give them 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Because in this minute they go through their options and they land on Dax is able to send some kind of signal over to disrupt Vandika's hold on Bashir.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to send it through the tractor beam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But she does need a little time to get it up and
they
going.
gotta trace the phone call, so you gotta keep
It trace the phone call, that's right, yes. So, boop, Vandika comes back online. It just goes like, okay, well, how do I know that if we let you go, that I'll get Bashir's body back? Vandika's like, oh, that was too easy. You complied to this too easy. You must have a plan.
How could you have a plan? It's not like I gave you some time to come up with one.
He says, all right, let it rip. We're going to go. I guess if you don't let us go, the ship's going to rip apart. And then like the head space pirate's like, wait.
I don't sign up to blow up.
I don't want to die.
So Bashir suits him.
He dies
Guess
anyway.
you're dead anyway.
And so he means business. They're like, okay, we'll let you go. Are you ready, Dax? She's like, I'm ready. Sends the beam over. And then we got acting going on with Bashir like,
the mind.
And then he's like, where am I? And Cisco has to calmly tell him, like, just put the shields down. Because they can't beam him over because the shields are up. They're like, just put the shields down. Thankfully, he's able to. They beam Bashir over. And then first he's like, I'm okay. But they already have the stun gun out, the phaser.
Oh, first he lowers he's going to lower the shields, but he starts getting taken over, and so he's doing this. Gets the shields down. They beam him off. And yeah, they're already pointing a phaser at him, and he's He's like, okay, guys, it's me.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Even if he was like, hey,
Shoot him
guys, I'm
anyway.
okay. Boo.
I think it would have been a lot funnier if he didn't do the me like he's bending to her. I think it would have been a lot funnier if he just went,
in mid-sentence.
it's okay, guys. It was just shot.
It's like, nah, bitch. And they knock him out. Go to the infirmary. They transfer Vance subconscious or conscious or whatever to a little disc. He's
so I guess they beam out the 10% of the brain that he was using. So Bashir has less of a brain now.
So now he's a Van disc. And now Bashir is 100% himself. Yay! Cool shot of the ship. Come back to the infirmary. And Ty is with the group now. And Bashir's like, I guess we should have listened to you. Womp womp. And Ty's like, yep, you should have. Oh, well. Well, I'm right that I can take control of the prisoner now. Correct? And just goes like, yeah, sure. Cool. She takes out her gun and shoots the Van disc. Bye. And leaves. And the three of them are looking at each other. And Cisco definitely has a look on his face like, yeah, let's not tell Starfleet that.
None of us shall speak of this ever again.
Yeah, we will keep an oath to the death. And that's it. She kills the Van disc. But honestly, she probably should have just killed him before this whole episode started.
Van in a cup.
Huh?
Van in a cup. Vantica in a cup.
It's like a little disc.
No.
And there we go. Bashir feels humiliated, as he should, for that awful accent. It's like, Bashir, you don't even know. You weren't even conscious for the worst part.
We're the ones that had to endure that.
And all right, so I think we already mentioned a little bit how we felt about this episode. Like, it's not terrible. It's not a bad episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very mid and brought down by incompetence of our peeps, which I don't like to see. I don't like to see my Starfleet.
Especially when it results in the death of innocent people. You know, like, it's not like, oh, the station was almost destroyed. That happens all the time, right?
Yeah,
things
exactly.
almost happen. But
or somebody dies by accident, like they beam somewhere
sure.
and they get attacked.
Or was the inciting incident or outplay, but just for negligence, it's a bad look. This whole episode is a bad look on everyone involved.
Especially Quark. Quark is just might play a little low for a few episodes.
Yeah.
If I was him, I would lay low. Which is interesting because Move Along Home the next episode.
Move Along Home's the next one. Which is also that's also, but that's another one though. Nothing stuff almost happens except not really. Was never going to. Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah. Oh, got plenty to say on that episode when we get there. But anything else about The Passenger?
No, I think that's it.
Like I said, still some good Bashir moments in the cold opening. A great scene
for sure.
Yeah. A great scene with Odo and Quark.
So far, all the stuff with Odo and Quark is basically always good.
Yeah. And we got some acting choices. What's interesting, as we're doing this watch through, I feel like at least halfway through the episode, I'm like, oh, I remember this episode. I didn't really get that with this episode. It really passed over me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, maybe vague impressions, but I'm like, man, I don't remember this one. I think that speaks a lot.
I just remember Bashir's acting.
That's not possible. All right.
It's me.
Okay.
All right.
We'll leave on that note. And boy, oh boy, come back next week for Move Along Home, where
this was an interesting one. Move Along Home.
I might partake of the drink before that episode. So we'll see how that goes.
All right.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.